If TSMC vanished tomorrow, the global economy would collapse within 90 days. No iPhones. No F-35 fighter jets. No ChatGPT. No new cars rolling off assembly lines. One single company, on one single island, controls 92% of the world's most advanced semiconductors. And Xi Jinping knows it. Jensen Huang knows it. The Pentagon knows it. This is the story of TSMC, the most strategically important company on Earth, and why the next world war might be fought over a building in Hsinchu, Taiwan. Let me give you a number that should terrify you. When you factor in chips below 7 nanometers, the cutting-edge silicon that powers AI, smartphones, and modern weapons systems, TSMC manufactures over 90% of global supply. Samsung trails badly. Intel is years behind. China? Effectively locked out by US export controls. There is no plan B. If Taiwan goes offline for even 6 months, Apple stops shipping iPhones. Nvidia stops shipping H100s. The US military stops receiving precision-guided munitions. Goldman Sachs estimated a Taiwan conflict would cost the global economy $10 trillion, more than COVID, more than the 2008 crisis, more than any economic shock in human history. So how did one company end up holding the entire modern world hostage? Rewind to 1985. A 54-year-old Texas Instruments executive named Morris Chang gets passed over for CEO. He's been in America for nearly 40 years. He's brilliant, ruthless, obsessed with semiconductors. The Taiwanese government calls. They want him to build a chip industry from scratch. Chang has one radical idea, an idea every American executive had rejected. What if a chip company didn't design chips at all? What if it just manufactured them, for everyone else? This was heresy in 1987. Every chip company, Intel, Motorola, Texas Instruments, designed and manufactured their own silicon. It was called the integrated device model. Chang's bet: separate the two. Let startups like a tiny company called Nvidia focus purely on design. TSMC would handle the impossibly expensive manufacturing. He called it the pure-play Foundry model. Wall Street laughed. Silicon Valley laughed. And then, slowly, the entire industry restructured around him. Today, fabless chip companies Nvidia, AMD, Apple, Qualcomm, Broadcom are worth over $5 trillion combined. None of them could exist without the model Morris Chang invented. Now here's where it gets insane. Building a leading-edge fab today costs $20 billion. That's more than the Apollo program adjusted for inflation. The machines inside EUV lithography systems from a Dutch company called ASML cost $200 million each and require a Boeing 747 just to ship. Each machine fires lasers at droplets of molten tin 50,000 times per second to create light so precise it can etch features 10,000 times thinner than a human hair. Only TSMC has mastered using these machines at scale for 3-nanometer production. Samsung tried and their yields collapsed. Intel is still trying. The technological moat isn't just deep, it's geological. And this is where geopolitics turns nuclear. Taiwan sits 100 miles from mainland China. Beijing claims it as a renegade province. Xi Jinping has explicitly stated reunification, by force if necessary, is non-negotiable. Meanwhile, every advanced AI chip Nvidia designs, every Apple A-series processor, every AMD data center CPU is manufactured within Chinese missile range. US strategists call this the Silicon Shield. The theory: Taiwan is so critical to the global economy that no one, not even China, would risk destroying it. But here's the contrarian take nobody wants to say out loud. The Silicon Shield might be the exact reason China invades. Because whoever controls TSMC controls the 21st century. The US figured this out dangerously late. In 2022, the Biden administration passed the CHIPS Act, $52 billion to bring semiconductor manufacturing back to America. TSMC was pressured into building a fab in Arizona. Then a second. Then a third, with $65 billion in total investment. But here's the dirty secret. The Arizona fabs are running 4-nanometer technology, already a generation behind. The cutting-edge 2-nanometer process? That stays in Taiwan. Morris Chang himself called the US effort a wasteful, expensive exercise in futility. Why? Because TSMC's real competitive advantage isn't the machines. It's 50,000 Taiwanese engineers working 12-hour shifts, a supply chain optimized over 30 years, and a culture of manufacturing precision that simply doesn't exist anywhere else. Meanwhile, China is pouring hundreds of billions into SMIC, its domestic foundry. In 2023, SMIC shocked the world by producing a 7-nanometer chip for Huawei despite US sanctions. The Pentagon panicked. New export controls dropped. ASML was banned from selling EUV machines to China. But here's what Wall Street is missing. SMIC is still 5 to 7 years behind TSMC. And TSMC isn't slowing down. They're already developing 1.4-nanometer technology for 2027. The gap isn't closing, it's widening. Which means the strategic value of Taiwan, and the temptation to seize it, only grows with every passing quarter. So what happens next? 3 scenarios. 1. China invades, the global economy collapses, and we enter a decade-long technological dark age. 2. The US successfully reshores enough advanced manufacturing to neutralize Taiwan's leverage, but that takes 10 to 15 years minimum. 3. And most likely, a permanent state of strategic tension where TSMC remains the most valuable hostage in human history, and every Nvidia earnings call, every Apple product launch, every AI breakthrough happens under the shadow of potential war. Morris Chang built a company. What he actually built was the central nervous system of modern civilization. And right now, it's sitting on the edge of a fault line. If you want to understand the next move in the chip war before Wall Street does, subscribe. I break down one geopolitical tech story every week.